Hello fellow YouTubers, welcome to this glorious video, and for the first time ever, I just watched Wrestlemania 1. The show that started it all. And man, I must say it's a rather shitty show. Before I get too in-depth with it, I'm going to remind everybody that I have my laptop here with my notes on it. So when I look over there, I'm not just looking around like an idiot, I'm actually reading a little bit of notes I had, that way I can formulate some ideas and hopefully not have to stop too much. Sorry if that bugs you guys. If there was an easy way to do it, I would do it. But my tripod doesn't have a laptop holder on it as well, so. But yeah, so hopefully every Saturday we'll be doing this. We'll be going down the line and eventually getting, hopefully, to the present day. Now, I want to say I counted up the number of shows there were one time, and there's over 300 pay-per-views. So I don't know. That's like 6 years of every single week doing one of these. And frankly, if they don't start improving, this is going to be one hell of a task. Anyway, so I turn it on. For one, I had to look up to make sure this was the first show. I thought that it was the Wrestling Classic, but that's actually next week's episode. So, the thing that jumped out immediately was that the show is only 2 hours and 20 minutes. Which is weird, because this year's WrestleMania was 7, 8 hours? I mean, 2 hours was a nice surprise, because even when I was thinking about it in my head, I'm like, 3 hours of this boring shit? So being 2 hours was nice. The intro video sucked really hard. It was 4 little pictures, and I think 2 of them said WWF on them, and the other 2 were pictures of wrestlers, and then there's just kind of bland generic music in the background, and then there was stars behind everything. So basically, I could do this, and I don't even consider myself a decent video editor. It's just picture in picture, and then a star background. Yeah, it wasn't that good. The other thing that jumped out immediately was how dark it was in the stadium. I mean, modern WWE is kind of dark at times, but you can't prepare for that. It starts, and it just looks so dark. I don't even know. I want to know when it stopped being so dark, because I think that's when I'm going to start enjoying the shows more. Just because, I don't even know why it bothers me. But it just feels so old. So, I don't know. Speaking of old, Mean Gene still looked really old. And so I Wikipedia'd it, and he was 40 at this time, which is just crazy. He sings the Star Spangled Banner, I think. I think it was the Star Spangled Banner. I wasn't paying attention. But his singing was mediocre. I mean, I like that he put the energy into it, trying to pump the crowd up. He could definitely be a rock singer at some point, if that's the profession he wanted to go down. Wouldn't surprise me if he actually was. But the other thing that jumped out was that the Lord Alfred Hayes thing. Okay, what in the hell was this? Basically, the announcers, Jesse the Body Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon, always send it over to Lord Alfred Hayes, where he basically tells you what the next match is. And then they send it to Gene Okerlund backstage, who then interviews the wrestlers, and then they come out to the ring, where then the match gets announced again, which seems a little redundant. But Lord Alfred Hayes, man, this was good. He's just playing the royalty character, I guess. It was pretty decent. So the first match on the first WrestleMania is Tito Santana versus the Executioner, a masked wrestler. In the video package before the match, Tito Santana calls him brother. I don't know why I always thought this was just a Hulk Hogan thing. Apparently, I thought really wrong. Then Gene Okerlund interviews the Executioner, and he straight up tells everybody what his plan is to beat Tito Santana. He's like, I'm gonna work over that knee. Why would you... How far has wrestling come? Nowadays, they'll be like, I have a plan, but I won't tell you what that plan is. But it's a good plan. Back then it was, I'm gonna work over that knee, I know it's hurt. Why give out your... I also thought it was interesting that every match started with them telling you how long they had to finish the match. So this match was a 20-minute time limit. Why is that weird? Why are they telling you? The fact they're telling you, it reminds you that sooner or later it's gotta happen. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I don't know if it does happen. But if it doesn't, then it just feels weird that they keep announcing the time limits, which is weird. The Executioner got thrown out of the ring, and when he was landing, he actually bumped into the cameraman, which I thought was so weird because it's like, I didn't realize it here, but there's like no outside of the ring area. Nowadays, you're so accustomed to having, God, it's got to be at least like 6, 7, 8 feet maybe, at least, of space from the ring to the barricade. And at WrestleMania 1 at least, there was like no space. So there was like no outside of the ring, you know, match really. Nothing happened out there. Tito Santana definitely surprised me. As somebody who's only ever heard the name and heard, oh, he was a good character, never really realized how good of a wrestler he was. He made, the running the rope spot where you Irish whip the one person and then you kind of duck under them, and then they come back and then you leapfrog over them. He actually made it look pretty cool. I thought it was weird that during the middle of the match, the announcers' names popped up. So it's like, why are we interrupting the match to tell you who your announcers are? Could you imagine how weird that would be today? Just in the middle of a, I don't know, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe match, you just randomly see Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, Booker T. Just, it was weird. Something else I noticed was that the crowd popped for really weird moves. It shows you how much wrestling has changed. For instance, there was a corner stomp spot and the crowd popped for it, which is weird because, nowadays the crowd doesn't pop that hard for just about anything, really, which is just crazy. I had put in the notes there was no outside of the ring area. Tito Santana won the match with a figure 4 leg lock, which was weird. It was also like 5 minutes, not even. So the OK match ended up being really forgettable. The only thing I really take away from this is that Tito Santana seems cool. Hopefully he does something cool over the next few pay-per-views that we watch. But if not, oh well. So we have King Kong Bundy versus Special Delivery Jones. What in the hell is Special Delivery Jones supposed to mean? What is he delivering? It's such a weird name. The thing that comes to mind immediately is, are there storylines for these matches? Because I could swear these were thrown together matches. The Executioner looks like a made-up guy. He looks like somebody who only showed up for this one show. And Special Delivery Jones, I don't know if he is. At least he's unmasked, so I could see him showing up more. But even then, this was a squash match. They were trying to tell you that it was 9 seconds long, but if you go on Wikipedia, it says 24. So that's kind of weird. It also raised the question that the first 2 matches overall have been like 5 minutes put together, which is just weird. King Kong Bundy wins the match really fast. Nobody cared. Well, they did care. I don't care, because I know what happens at WrestleMania 2, and things don't exactly go up for Mr. King Kong Bundy. Better than the second match on the card, I guess. Then we have Matt Bourne versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I don't remember what Matt Bourne said, but I remember enjoying his interview. Ricky also calls everybody brother. So now I'm really confused, because now I know 3 wrestlers say it. They cut to the announcers, and they're both wearing sunglasses inside at a wrestling show that's already hella dark. Weird. Matt Bourne is apparently from Portland, Oregon, which I thought was weird. The other thing that popped out was, oh my god, the side headlocks. Oh my, ugh. Randy Orton matches bore me because of these, and it seemed like this was like the favorite move back in the 80s. The other thing I thought was interesting was that the announcers would even tell you when a pinfall wasn't going to work before it happened. So, like, you would hit a move, and then you had to cover them, and then one of the announcers would go, that's not going to be enough to get them. What? Why would you say that? It removes the drama of the quick pinfalls. It also kind of makes the quick pinfalls seem pointless. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wins in like 5 minutes. Don't remember anything about the match. It was there, I guess. It was also under 5 minutes. So, again, kind of makes me wonder what Matt Bourne was. And think about this for a second. The first 3 matches on the first WrestleMania have all basically been job matches. They've been squashes. They've been like 5-minute spats. Was this wrestling back then? Let's find out by continuing. The next match was David Sammartino versus Brutus Beefcake. I've heard of Brutus Beefcake, and I've heard of Bruno Sammartino. So this match had me a little more hooked. And the video segment, which ended up breaking into a yelling match where Brutus Beefcake's manager, I don't remember what his name was, like Johnny Luscious or something, started yelling a lot. And a weird theme started where Mean Gene Okerlund, apparently he just don't take shit. Because he just decides, I'm going to talk over you and send it back to the announcers in the middle of promos. People are still talking, and he's like, fuck this! Which was very interesting. David Sammartino, or no, it was Brutus Beefcake, was hailed from parts unknown, which was like already like the second or third guy to be hailed from there, which is weird because nowadays you don't have like anybody who does. I think Kane does sometimes, but aside from that, the other thing that really was apparent was the fact that David Sammartino was not going to do shit. I don't know if he does. I don't keep up with this time period in wrestling much, but Bruno completely overshadowed him. Like, the crowd lost their shit when Bruno would do something. When David would do something, they'd just be like, it's crazy. This might be an example of being a famous wrestler's child really hindered you. I mean, granted, David Sammartino didn't seem that special, but the other thing that stood out was that David Sammartino had a bit of a gut, which is just weird. I think they both kind of did, but I guess we're just so accustomed to modern wrestlers having, these huge, physiques, which is kind of funny because then you'll hear people complaining that the only reason Reigns gets pushed is because he's got a body. But aside from the point, we have video during the match showing us what Bruno Sammartino is doing. Why did they stop doing this? Because this is actually really cool. Imagine this happening nowadays where, you go and see, oh, here's the Maurice watching The Miz wrestle. She's right there by ringside, it's kind of nice. We get it sometimes, but not like this. The other thing that really became apparent here was that this just seems like a regular show. And I always made a note of how crazy over Bruno was. He very well might have been the second most over guy in this night, which is crazy to think about because, man, this was 84. So this was 85. But this was a good, 20 years into his career. It's just mind-boggling. The match ends in a double DQ, which, man, oh man, that excites me for a rematch. Hopefully we get that at the Wrestling Classic. The outside of the ring area looks harder. What it was Johnny Luscious, or whatever his dumb name was. He body slammed David Sammartino onto the outside of the ring, and there's no padding out there. It just looks like straight concrete. Like, damn. That did not look fun. But yeah, the other thing was that I heard an air horn going off, which is just crazy. I'm sorry if I'm trying to, kind of speed through this, but I don't want this video to be too long. The next match we had was Junkyard Dog versus Greg Valentine for the IC title, which had a 1 hour time limit. Don't worry, it wasn't necessary. The first person to come out with theme music was Junkyard Dog. Didn't know they had theme music. At this point, nobody had come out, so they just kind of sped out real fast, which was weird. Other interesting thing. Greg Valentine came out first. So here I am, and I'm going to say it every single video, okay? For all the people who complain when, say, Roman Reigns comes out after the champion in a championship match, okay? This is 1985. This is Junkyard Dog, a Hall of Famer, and Greg the Hammer Valentine, a Hall of Famer, in a match for the IC title, a title that actually meant shit back then. And Junkyard Dog came out last. I don't want to hear that shit anymore. I don't. Because if you seriously sit there and say that, then you aren't looking at anything else. You're just looking at reasons to boo Roman Reigns, which is just dumb. The IC title looked really ugly. All of the titles kind of did. I didn't get a good look at the WWF title at that point, but I had to look it up because Greg the Hammer Valentine's the IC champion. He said, I'm the greatest IC champion of all time. So I looked up, and he, in terms of how many times the belt has moved, he's the 8th champ. 8th. Wow. The belt probably moved more last year than it had up to this point. Crazy. Junkyard Dog's signature headbutt spot where he's kind of like on the ring, he just charging at people. It looks dumb as fuck. I don't know if people thought it looked good back then, Sure doesn't now. Greg the Hammer Valentine hits his manager Jimmy Hart, and the crowd explodes. I want to know what Jimmy Hart did to get that much heat, because they exploded. He ends up getting the victory by putting his feet on the rope. Greg the Hammer Valentine wins with a roll-up and has his feet on the rope. Better way to put it. And then Tito Santana comes out, which made like no sense. I think they'd made a reference to it during the Tito Santana Executioner match, where apparently he was trying to show off for Greg Valentine, but I don't know. There were no video packages. They didn't really mention it that much, but they restarted the match, but Greg the Hammer Valentine decides, fuck it, I ain't going back in there. Quickest 10 count I've ever seen. I want to see somebody take the video footage from this and redub it over with a 10 chance in the appropriate amount of time, because damn, it would have been ridiculous. But I mean, it was a nice way to do it. That way Junkyard Dog gets the win. He looked hella happy to win by countout, though. People always talk about, what was it, Lex Luger beating Yokozuna by countout at SummerSlam in like 90s. And they say that's the dumbest moment. But I'm sorry, Junkyard Dog literally did like a spin and flip. He was, well, a spinning jump, not a flip. But he was really happy about losing. The announcers keep saying Pearl Harbor him. I don't like that. I'm so glad that died. More so than probably anything else on here is that. It just doesn't work. And it was like the only way they had to phrase it. They're like, oh, he got hit in the back. He got Pearl Harbored. What? What? You can't... Skipping on past that. The referee's name was Dick Kroll. Okay, my immature side showing. I just thought it was something Dick Roll. This was also the second match in a row without a clear victor. So we had the tag team title match. We had Nikola Volkov and the Iron Sheik versus Barry Windham and holy shit, Mike Rotunda. In the backstage interview segment, Gene Okerlund calls Koloff a commie. And then he fixes himself nervously and says, comrade. That was pretty good. I got a kick out of that. I have the subtitles on. I always have subtitles on when I watch TV. So, especially with the WWE Network, because some poor sap, he did not get paid enough to do this. Because he is fucking up all over the place. So, Volkov comes out of the ring and he starts singing the Soviet National Anthem. And I thought it was funny because in the subtitles it just says, in foreign language. Like, what? Were you not even watching this? Oh my... I would have to assume it's Russian. I would have to. I'm not gonna lie, this part of the show was pretty decent. The fans are throwing stuff in the ring. It's crazy to think how well the foreign heel gimmick worked in the past. Like, damn. The US Express, Mike Rotunda, and Barry Windham come out, and they also have theme music, which, again, caught me off guard. The other thing that popped up was Lou Albano looked like a doofus. Can somebody explain me the fishhooks in his face thing? Because I really must be missing something here. Because he just looks like an idiot. There was a point in the match where one of the commentators, like, they had him in like an arm drag, the US Express, and so the faces had the heels, locked up, and one of the commentators says, he's using that move a lot. Way to bury the competitors. Oh my god. I did find it interesting that the crowd played along really well. There was even a pop for a sunset flip. I don't think it was an actual sunset flip. It was just like a flip to pin. It was crazy. Sheik hit Windham with a cane, so that way Koloff could pin him, which was kind of interesting, but in the grand scheme of things, now you have 3 matches in a row that have ended like this, where either there wasn't a clear, decisive victory or somebody cheated, which, Then Alfred Hayes gives his worst segment yet. I don't remember what he did, but it was horrible. It was the setup for the Andre the Giant Big John stud match. If you want to look at it yourself, it's on the network. Mean Gene continues cutting everybody off, and he's doing this when freaking Big John Studd and Andre the Giant are in there. I mean, he is interviewing these guys who weigh like double what he does. And he's just like, we're done talking to you. Send it back to the ring. Whew, that's crazy. Now, this match was kind of interesting. It's a body slam challenge where $15,000 on the line, and also Andre's career is, which is just weird. Like, I'm okay with it. I'm not bad-mouthing it. It was weird. And then you realize you have to use a body slam to win, so it kind of raises some confusion when the announcers and the managers keep saying, "Hey, you should be counting, ref." You can't win like that. The match can't end like that. You can only win by doing a body slam. So, it's like the commentators don't even know what's going on in this match. But yeah, Andre wins. I mean, you kind of expected he would. I mean, I don't even remember who Big John Studd is. I've heard of Andre the Giant, so I kind of figured he would win this match. He gets the money and he starts throwing it in the crowd before, I think it was Bobby Heenan comes in to take it. Then we had our first and only women's match on the card. Wendy Richter with Cyndi Lauper in her corner versus Leilani Kai with Fabulous Moolah. Why have I never heard of this girl? Literally, never heard this name. Leilani Kai? I've heard of everybody else. Everybody else. This girl, like, none of it. Wendy Richter got theme music, which was interesting. I also thought it was interesting that it was the only women's/ladies match on the card. I mean, whatever. Right off the bat, at the beginning of the match, Leilani Kai tapped out to an armbar like 3 times. So, yeah, it was not good. Not good. I didn't get why the referee didn't call for the bell. I think it was dick roll in this match, too. And one of the sloppiest finishers I've ever seen. So, Leilani Kai is on the top rope. She does a crossbody. Wendy Richter gets hit and kind of like rolls over and pins her. And not rolls over in like the cool way like Cena does sometimes where, you know, picks him up afterwards. She like gets hit, falls to the ground, and then kind of just flips over. Looked horrible. Absolutely atrocious. And notice this isn't a finishing move. This is another quick pinfall, which is like a lot on this card. Interesting note, Moolah is like 60 here, and I want to say like the next year she was women's champ again. So, other thing I noticed was that women's title was small, very small. I mean, I'm sure they didn't have that much money, but it was hella small. Then we have Billy Martin doing the introductions for the main event. Who in the fuck is Billy Martin? I don't know. I don't normally keep up with these things, but then Liberace came out, and I've heard the name, have no idea what he's famous for. So, early WrestleManias are going to be very dated. That's something I've learned. I love how the crowd was legitimately cheering for Liberace. So basically, they were dancing. It was an older man dancing with some dancers in costumes. And they were cheering. And the thing that comes to mind is, remember a few years back when the hosts of, what is it, like the Today Show were on Raw? And they like smashed bottles on each other's asses? That's what I connect this with. So it's like so weird that this got cheered. It would not get cheered today. Not at all. Muhammad Ali was there, which I never remember people talking about, which is weird. The one thing I didn't like was how, basically, to get the celebs involved, you kind of just thrusted them all into one segment. And the match just kind of stopped. And you're just like, hey, look, people. So the main event of Hogan, Mr. T, with Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff with Bob Orton in their corner. This is the first real special entrance in WrestleMania history, so that's worth noting. Roddy Piper came out and he had the people coming out playing the single drum. It was aight. It's hard to really undersell how over Hogan was. When his music hits, the crowd just explodes. Like, legitimately, like, you think, like, say you think Seth Rollins is over today. And I don't do that to pick on Seth Rollins. I like Seth Rollins, but you hear Seth Rollins' music kicks in. Yeah, there's a pop. But you hear Hulk Hogan's music click, and it's just... It's mind-boggling. The thing that was funny was, remember, like, when ADR was still there, and so they started chanting, C, 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 C for him? Well, the crowd is chanting T, and it's so much like that. It's kind of cool, because at first I'm like, wait, what? Did this like turn off? But no, it's just the crowd going, T, 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 T. I thought it was kind of funny. Hulk Hogan tells Pat Patterson not to end the match, and Pat listens, which is weird. You know, he doesn't really have that option. I mean, whatever, who cares? Piper hits Hulk Hogan with a chair, and again, nothing happens. Kind of weird that the first WrestleMania main event is basically a schmoz. Frankly, at this point, I kind of lost interest, because it just became Hulk Hogan's getting his ass beat for a bit, so I started counting up. 11 of 18 superstars / teams had a manager at this point. 11 of 18, that's a lot. Interestingly enough, a fair amount of heels use top rope moves, which you normally correlate more with baby faces, yet a lot of the heels were doing it. And they weren't getting cheered for doing it. They were still getting booed, which was very interesting. The match ends when Bob Orton interferes, hitting his teammate Paul Orndorff with the cast, and Hogan goes to pin him. I'm like, there's like 6 guys in the ring right now. What the hell? It wasn't the atomic leg drop. It just was there. I got a kick out of this. Hulk Hogan, after the match, gets interviewed, and he says, because he's like, you know what turned me on about working with Mr. T? Just, yeah. See, that's the problem with this show, though. It's really boring. So, I'm going to continue with the little factoids I got. 4 of the 9 matches ended dirtily or unclean. By that, I mean there was either interference, there was a weapon, or it didn't end, like the double countout, which, double disqualification, I think it was. Furthermore, 3 of the other matches that were left were under 5 minutes. Now, I don't know about anything about the executioner, but I don't think he was a real wrestler. I don't know about Special Delivery Jones, or what was the third guy? I can't remember who the third guy was. And I don't know about these guys. Matt Bourne. I don't know if they were legitimately jobbers or what, but it sure felt like they were. The 2 remaining matches were won by using a move and a sneaky pin. I don't remember what I meant by a move, but point of the matter is, WrestleMania 1 ended in such a schmoz. For one, the matches typically just were really dull, and then the way they ended, it wasn't like a finisher ended the match, which is crazy, because nowadays, it's like you have to hit your finisher like 3 times to win a match, unless you're Dean Ambrose. But back then, it was like, you wouldn't even use your finisher. I don't think I saw anybody's finisher tonight. That's just crazy. Overall, I'd rate this show as poor as I can. The only thing really worth watching for one, is Lord Alfred Hayes. 2, the history, just the fact that it's the original WrestleMania. 3, I would say just the main event, because it's kind of interesting that the first WrestleMania main event is a complete schmoz. And Pat Patterson just gives up on being a referee. They have Mr. T on the outside of the ring being no, not Mr. T, Muhammad Ali on the outside of the ring being a referee too. Just crazy. It's just madness. I would rate this show like a 1 out of 10. It's like an F. Just however low you want to rate this. I agree. If you want to rate this high, then no. No. I'm not one of those people who says, man, there's history behind this show. That means it's good. No. No, this show sucked. It was boring. It felt worse than an episode of Raw. Okay, I feel punished because I had to watch SmackDown last night, and then I had to watch Raw the night before it, and I know, damn, you know what's coming on Sunday? Backlash. So, if you like this series, please make sure you leave a like, comment with your opinions about WrestleMania 1 if you do happen to watch it, or if you think I'm a blathering idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about, feel free to, I'll respond, don't worry. But yeah, if you want more of the series, subscribe. Thanks for watching.